On the 29th of March 2020, Mount & Blade II Bannerlord was finally released into the public eye. A complete success. In the top 10 most played games on Steam, it has gone from strength to strength, with updates, patches, modding tools, and incredible community-made changes. This game has never been better. But let's take a deep dive into where the game is today, how it's changed, what's happened in the last 12 months, and some of the biggest and most controversial things that have run through the community. This is Mount & Blade II Bannerlord 2 years later. How the hell has it been 2 years? And what a strange 2 years it's been. But after the longest build-up of all time, there was always going to be a massive bang upon the release in March of 2020. A week after the UK went into lockdown and many other countries did the same, Tailwheels decided to bring out the game a day early, on the 30th of March 2020. I did the first 12 months last year and how we took a deep dive into the changes, advancements, drama and juice of Bannerlord over the last year. So in this 2 years later special, we'll be looking over the next 12 months from the 1 to 2 years. On the 8th of April, we got our first regular update, adding in local lobby chats to multiplayer, UI overhaul in the single player and a new sandbox mode. A campaign that could be customized to make a more unique experience. Want to make yourself a lord in his 40s, a bit more experienced? Sure. Jump ahead and start from halfway through the game. But you might be dead soon. 40 is pretty old these days. A ton of fixes for both single and multiplayer, modding tools along with a smaller hotfix the next day. Over the next couple of months, we saw many more fixes. June comes around and the sun's out. People are stuck inside, not because of COVID, just because Bannerlord players never really leave the house anyway. So Tailwheels put everything on sale. The Steam summer sale pops around and Mount & Blade is one of the biggest features. The game is boosted up once again, sticking within the top 10 most played games on Steam. Yet it was the 25th of June when we got our first real bit of info about what's coming in the next year of Bannerlord's lifespan. Developer Update 8.
Greetings, Warriors of Calradia. With 1.6.0 available in beta and 1.5.10 on its way to live soon, we thought it'd be a good time to share another development update to discuss the latest changes to the game.
A completely new intro was, well, introduced, as well as fully customizable difficulty settings and presets, anywhere from freebooter to veteran difficulties, or if you want to take another level, the all-new Iron Man mode. Once you're dead, you're dead. The big changes, though, came with 40 new scenes for towns, villages, and castles, giving so much more variety every time you wanted to wander into a new settlement looking for quests or someone's butter to steal. There were plenty more additions to delve into, like crafting orders or party stances, but mostly just quality of life improvements. It was at this point that Bannerlord, at least for me, started to really feel more fleshed out, where it felt like we were part of some project that was still in development, but it was getting to a really solid stage. Yet, for many, there was still that nagging feeling. Do we want to be part of this early access development process, or would it have been better to just have waited and have a full release and the full experience? Yet that wasn't a decision that we could make at this point. Time continued to pass with more and more patches releasing. June, July, August. Modding tools became more and more advanced and we started to see things like the Eagle Rising mod grow bigger and bigger. Talks of a new Game of Thrones mod called Realm of Thrones would be in the works, boasting to be the biggest yet, with a full map overhaul, something that we were yet to see. Modding, though, only got bigger and bigger during this time. I mean, who doesn't want the biggest swords mod in their game? Yes, that was an actual thing, because regular Calradian weapons is rubbish compared to these bad boys. But Tailwheels weren't done here. Future plans was where all the excitement really started to ramp up. The battle terrain system that was announced just a few weeks before got a big update. Other than the actual release of the game, it perhaps was one of the most hyped updates for Bannerlord, separating the world into smaller and smaller chunks, all that were custom made. Heading into battle would replicate the scene as close as possible to what it looked like on the overworld map. If you were defending a bridge crossing, you'd be defending that in the battle itself. The armies and their directions were almost identical to what you'd expect through translation. Not only this, but talk of an all-new battle deployment system, very much inspired by Total War, being able to change units, commanders of said units, and move troops to better deployment locations. Multiplayer finally got ranked matchmaking to put a more competitive spin on the side of Bannerlord that has been overlooked by the devs for quite some time. All this was very exciting for players, however it wasn't released just yet. More just a carrot to dangle over many fans, and especially that battle terrain system. It really couldn't come fast enough. In the September patch notes, we got a small line at the bottom saying how mounted combat supports controllers much better now. Interesting. This, along with the new added radial wheel, it seemed that there was going to be a lot more of console support, or at least controller-based preparation going on. We already know that from June, oh yeah, did I forget to mention back in June? It was leaked then kind of announced that Bannerlord would in fact be coming onto console and was under development right now. But it was a bit weird. It was more of an under the radar announcement, as Prime Matter at the time, a new publishing house that took games like Kingdom Come Deliverance and Bannerlord under its wing, mentioned in one of their announcement articles that Bannerlord's console version was in the works. Now, don't get me wrong, is it a surprise? No, not really. It was always going to happen, let's be honest, especially as Warband did so well on console, so it was kind of a no-brainer. Yet there was never any official announcement from Tailwords, just a third-party mention about this console version. I guess when it's gold and ready to release, there will be this big announcement, maybe perhaps around the same time that Bannerlord gets a full release on PC, but that still seems to be in the distant future. Speaking of Bannerlord's full release though, it was around September time that Tailwords said they were aiming for a Q2 of 2022 for the full version, which is, well, wait, that's now. Surely it should be coming within the next month or so though. Well, since it was mentioned back then, there hasn't been anything else from Tailwords indicating that they're still trying to hit this target, and who's surprised at this point anyway. October brings us one of the most minor yet game-changing mods that we've seen in a while, the Siege Ladder fix, something that had plagued the game since launch. Troops glitching, getting stuck at the bottom of siege ladders and towers, with larger battles often causing you to lose in infuriating ways. Well, modders had now fixed it, and they did it pretty goddamn well. This would be a theme that we started to see a lot in the later months of the second year of Bannerlord. With more and more advanced modding tools coming out, we're seeing modders start to take the reins a little more, fixing some major or minor issues and introducing some key features that Tailwords never were able to do. I mean, let's look at some of the brilliant work going on with the Bannerlord co-op mod. Still in development, it's hoping to bring a complete cooperative campaign to the single player, giving players the opportunity to serve in the same or separate parties, taking cities as allies or as enemies. As far as I'm aware, it's still going on in development, and there are some updates coming very, very soon that I've heard of. What's more, and maybe more impressive, is Bannerlord Online, taking single player into full MMO, building up a party from nothing, attacking bandits and doing quests to earn money, and fighting with or against other players on one big map, catering for thousands and thousands of players. It's still incredibly popular to this day, and it's something I've seen a lot. Every time I'm posting a new video speaking on mods or playing Bannerlord mods, most of the comments are saying, why didn't Tailwords do this? It's almost a double-edged sword for the company. Their game, with mods, gets more content-rich and refined, yet the fanbase almost starts to turn against them, almost being shown up for what they didn't do themselves. I'm not sure how fair that is on their standpoint, since, you know, they made Bannerlord in the first place, so modders wouldn't be able to do any of these incredible things without Tailwords being able to put those building blocks down. Yet it still seems to be a common thread that's hard to ignore throughout the community. November brought us Development Update 9, one of the bigger in the game's history, adding in multiplayer emotes, new scoring systems, over in the single player adding in the ability to grant peerage, spear bracing was a fun new addition, and the new benchmarking mode. Towards the end of the year, bringing us the official fix for Bannerlord siege ladders and siege towers, which worked most of the time. Hey, look, it's still a bit buggy, but it's still much better than it was. Now only 10% of the time do your men get stuck at the bottom and, well, suicide themselves, and make you very angry. And finally, battle terrain mode. It was added eventually. Being able to play on battle maps that translate brilliantly to the Overworld map did wonders for immersion. As mentioned, it was one of the most hyped features, and whilst I don't think it's even close to being finished yet, it has improved the game tenfold. The only issues come when we look at development time. You see, it's such a big project to get every segment of the Overworld map to have its own custom scene, but once it's complete, it's going to be an entirely different game. After 2 years of updates, the game for me has surpassed what Warband has or ever was when it comes to single-player content. Yet the multiplayer is still a bit lacking for Bannerlord. Recently, however, we've had the introduction of the new battle mode and the testing of custom servers and player-hosted servers, so it looks like even that side is on the up and up. The player base for Bannerlord is still incredibly healthy, and judging by the recent wave of big mods coming, it seems that modding tools are making big advancements as well. Mount & Blade II Bannerlord has been a massive project, and I think it still has a long way to go. Yet, somehow, unlike many games that release into early access and stay there for a few years, it's managed to still keep a loyal fan base. Whilst people complain and give criticism to Taleworld, sometimes with good reason, the game, have you noticed, always seems to bring players back. Eventually. It's one of the most beloved games and the fan base shows that, yet I still think it's one of the most criticized by the people that love it most. But I don't think that will ever really change. Perhaps that's why people keep coming back, to keep finding more, because of this ever-changing and advancing game and player base. But don't you worry, I'll be back next year, and maybe, just maybe, we could have a full release by then. No, I don't think so either.